Right, guys, welcome back. This is number 4 of 10 must-haves for mighty men. I must be wise. The first 3 were, I must be humble, pure, brave. Number 4, I must be wise. What is wisdom? I said in the summary video that wisdom is the skillful and discerning application of knowledge. There are raw facts, but those raw facts don't do us any good unless we're able to properly apply them to our own lives. Now, I think of the wisest man to ever live, King Solomon. Solomon was offered by God in this vision. He was offered anything he wanted. And literally the request of his soul was, give me a wise and understanding heart. And of course, God gave him that and much more. The history of his life proves the power of wisdom in action. But the history of his life also proves something else. And that is that the wisest man has the capacity to tumble all the way down to the bottom. Like, how does that happen? Here's what I learned from the history of Solomon and the history of my own life. Humans are inherently blind, especially blind as regards anything that pertains to ourselves. It's called a blind spot. And everyone knows that everyone has them. Most people think that I don't have them, right? Everyone else has them and I can see them very clearly, but I can't see my own. This very reality ought to give us a hint as to what it looks like for wisdom to operate within a man or a woman. I've been kind of obsessed with this question. Where are my blind spots? How can I see what I cannot see in myself? And so I started praying this prayer. Lord, help me see what I cannot see. Help me see my blind spots. Just a helpful hint for you. If you pray that prayer, more than likely, he will help you see your blind spots. And it may or may not be a comfortable situation. It may or may not be a comfortable process. So just a couple weeks ago, I had this experience where I'm, moving along, minding my own business, living my life and thinking, I got this, I understand, all this. And then suddenly someone comes to me and they share something. Like, where did that come from? Oh, wait a minute. You see it too? Oh, you see it too? Oh, what's going on? How did I miss this? I missed it because no man, no woman, no child is qualified to be the ultimate authority when it comes to their own lives. And we know this, right? In reference to God, like everyone knows that we need God to be the ultimate authority in our lives, but we forget that I myself am too close to myself to see myself as others see me. So one of my sidekicks shared with me this idea they read on Twitter. It went something to this effect. Being self-aware is like, or trying to be self-aware is like being inside a bottle and trying to read the label on the outside of the bottle. If you're inside the bottle, which I am and you are, how are you going to read the label on the outside? There are only 2 ways I can think of. 1, you need to sidle up to someone who is not inside the bottle, who can read the label from the outside and tell you what you yourself say. Or number 2, number 2, you need to sidle up to a mirror. In Scripture, what is a mirror? Paul refers to the law as being a glass in which we look and we see reflected our sin. The law can't save you, but it can show you the reality of your situation. Christ also himself is referred to as a mirror. We look at Christ and we see ourselves as we truly are, not because he reflects us, but because we see how we are not like him. So we need to sidle up to somebody or somebodies, or we need to sidle up to a mirror. This is wisdom. Ignorance says, that's not my problem. Wisdom says, I don't perceive that to be my problem, but let me check with somebody. Wisdom says, Lord, open my eyes that I may see, and then goes to one of your people and says, do you see this in me? Now, it goes without saying that this kind of wisdom is going to need a bunch of other things, some of which we already talked about, including humility, because it's hard. It's hard to hear from God, and it's even harder to hear from someone else something that does not align with my rosy perceptions about myself. But this is exactly the difference between Solomon the man, the wisest man on earth. Lord, I know not how to go in or out. I am like a little child, he said, perceiving his own weakness, versus Solomon who thought, yeah, got this, got it figured out. Let that not be you, and let that not be me. That's my prayer for both of us. I must be wise. Until next week, for the roar of the lion and the love of the lamb, I'm Sean Neblett, and this is The Lion and His Men.